I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
Oh, this is Fish Jelly.
Oh,
How are you?
I'm delirious. How are you?
Uh, Probably the same. Very overwhelmed right now. So much work
Uh,
to do. But we're doing this on Zoom because you're still at the Cannes Film Festival.
yes,
So
yes.
we'll end with that. But there's some other things to talk about first. Did you see the video of Diddy assaulting Cassie?
I did not.
Oh, so but you remember, was it last year or the year before, Cassie, the singer,
Mhm.
um, she there was a lawsuit against Diddy, and she made all these allegations saying that he, like over a period of years, like assaulted her, forced her to have sex with like other men while he recorded it, like just a creep. Of
Yeah,
course,
I remember that allegation.
yeah.
Those.
And then of course, it was settled out of court. And of course, he denied everything. But part of some of the allegations she made reference like an incident in March of 2016 at a hotel in LA where she says he assaulted her. And then guess what popped up last week? But the video of Diddy assaulting her at the Intercontinental in Culver in Century City, which we
Mhm.
know someone who used to work there. But yeah, I watched the video. It's hard to watch because what you see is Cassie clearly trying to flee the hotel. Like it seems like she had a chance to run out with her bag and she's looking real regular and gets to the elevator. And then you see Diddy run out in a bath towel and he stomps her ass out and drags her back to the hotel room.
So
So
who
that
is
was 20, so that was in 2016.
and why is it just coming out now?
Well, so then reading about it, it looks like, of course, like Diddy's team paid the hotel like $50,000 to get access to the tape.
Mhm.
And then I guess someone leaked it. But yeah, I mean, it, so then it took 2 days for Diddy to respond and he made a video, which is also hard to watch because it's like, you know, it's just like awful people who get caught doing awful things and they want to like try to it's also hard to listen to someone try to apologize for something that like you were accused of it and you said no, and then now that we have proof, now you want to say like he starts off by saying like it's hard to watch the video because he knows like the state of mind he was in back then, but he he went to therapy and all this stuff and that it's just he just feels bad about all of it, but
That's like Meryl Streep in Death Becomes Her. Blah blah blah.
yeah. I mean, all this made me think two things. First of all, watching the video is hard because all I see is a person trying to flee a bad situation and then someone like stopping them from doing so.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why, and you know this, but I think the thing that probably like, how do I say it? I have very strong feelings about being stopped. Like physically, if someone tries to stop me, like if I want to leave or move and it hasn't ever been like I'm being assaulted. It's usually like I'm ready to go or I want to go over here and then you get in front of me or I say I want to leave and someone tells me no or grabs my arm. That just something in me feels enraged. And I think it's because it feels very controlling. There are ways to control people in many ways, but this is such a literal way. Like, I was in a bad situation. You're clearly physically violent towards me, among other things. I try to leave, and then you come chase me down and not only stop me, but beat me up and drag me back to the situation I was trying to get away from. That's all I see when I watch that video. So it's like, I mean, it's just despicable. And then I remember when she made those allegations, a lot of like, like the blogs and every asshole with a podcast trying to say that, there's always someone trying to defend, in this case, the man, Diddy, and like asking, like, well, why didn't she leave? And it's like, well, people who are in abusive relationships stay for a variety of reasons. And maybe we should be more critical of the person who's like doing the abuse.
Well, right. It's not, it's always complex. It's not, that's just a lazy excuse to not really want to deal with the perpetrator.
But now that you see the video, it's like, she's probably afraid of him. Like this man is powerful. Like he was able to whoop her ass, get access to the videotape, and cover it up. And at the point when the lawsuit was filed, that video, and I'm sure others exist, where he was able to basically erase it. So why wouldn't she be afraid of him? Why wouldn't she stay? Because she can't, no one's going to listen, just like OJ beating up Nicole Brown. And then you get all those 911 tapes where she's literally like, y'all know OJ, y'all know he's over here whipping my ass. I already know you're not going to do shit, but send someone if you can. Like that lady, like that man was
Yeah.
abusive to her and no one listened to her and she ended up dead. So I, and then just looking at him in that apology video is like, and he looks like he's sitting because when the feds raided his LA mansion, he wasn't there. And I think he got wind of it. So then he had like taken off on his private jet. And then we find out that he was on some Caribbean island or something. And then this apology video looks like he's also like, he's so dumb. I don't know. Like he was outside and the way the exterior looks, it looks like he's on a tropical island to me. I don't know why he wouldn't make like something more official. Because it took too long for you to respond. So to me, it feels like you got on your jet and went somewhere else because you're afraid you're going to get arrested. I don't know. He just seems like a monster to me.
Well, yeah, like anybody in a position of power. Like I just watched the film about Donald Trump today and Roy Cohn advising him like the rules for success are never admit what you did. Never admit it.
Oh, well, and a side that I won't talk about now, but there's a 3-part or 4, there's a docuseries on Netflix about Ashley Madison,
Mhm.
the quote unquote cheater.
Advertised.
Oh, you've
Yeah.
seen it?
No, I saw it advertised.
Oh, it was fascinating. And I, I, yeah, I'm not going to go on about it right now, except to say that it's just very interesting. I don't know why I brought that up with this, but just like, it's so easy to think like, oh, it's a cheater's website. But then when you hear people talking about it and they have people who used it and it, it's, that was just sort of like a marketing thing, but really it was also, I think people used it like who had open relationships, but it's very interesting because it kind of feels like the straight people's grinder, but then,
Yeah, the dudes that are always like, I'm DL. Like, okay.
well, not even that. I mean, there were people on there who like they had, these were the the sense I got was that it was more about like I don't want something serious, but as a straight guy, like finding straight women who are down with that in the traditional sense of going on traditional, like regular dating will not yield the kind of people who are down with that. So then it's
Uh-huh.
like there was this website where it was kind of understood like I'm just looking for sex, no strings attached, under the guise of like I'm cheating. But hearing some people talk, they were like, yeah, I was cheating and I felt bad. And some people actually didn't act out their fantasy, but got caught up anyway. It's just so fascinating. And it would make for great discussion, I think. But I went off on a tangent. The next thing, we got messages about we reviewed the Netflix series Baby Reindeer. I believe it
Mhm.
was 7 episodes. So we did like a 35-minute like recap video. But we watched it like a month after it premiered, after it had already gone viral. Um, and I didn't do any research about it before or after I watched it. But then with a lot of the messages we received related to how do we feel about the fact that the lady who Martha is inspired by did this Piers Morgan interview denying that she did any of that. And then also this idea of things being based on a true story and what responsibility the filmmaker and the distributor have to be clear, like what's true. So Baby Reindeer's Richard Gadd wrote it and stars in it. And he's a stand-up comedian who claimed that he was stalked by a woman who in the show's name is Martha. I won't say her real name, but um, the real lady who says that this character is based on her, did an interview with Piers Morgan.
Hmm.
That interview, if you've watched Baby Reindeer,
It just it doesn't work for her case, her doing that.
oh my God. I
There's
mean,
no there's no way that anybody would have ever known who she was. So one to come for
well, I was thinking about this. I'm thinking, okay, what if my ex wrote a screenplay that got made into a movie that's a big hit? And it's about how he met this guy in Vegas who manipulated him and was a gold digger and like broke his heart. And it's like some kind of psychodrama. How
Mhm.
hard would it be for people to realize and I didn't do that, but let's just say that's what the movie's about. How difficult would it be for people to figure out who my ex is talking about? Anyone who knew him during that time would know that I'm the guy from Vegas who moved to go be with him. And then with social media, if the movie were a hit, not unlike how Baby Reindeer is a hit, within a matter of hours, it would go viral that I'm the guy who's the basis of the movie, you know,
Uh-huh. Sure.
whatever it's called, Teenage Nightmare. I don't know. But um, so I kind of feel like that's the scary part of all of this is, first of all, what are the rules on, I mean, are there any rules? Like every horror film we watch, it says based on true events. And it's like, well, I mean, okay.
Well, no, there aren't because it's based on true events, which should also be an automatic signal to any person with a brain watching that liberties have been taken and exaggerations have been made. Because if it's different if it was posing as a documentary of that these are the facts. This is rumor control, and that's not the case. So yeah, in a hypothetical situation about your ex in Vegas doing that. The other thing is that is their story from their perspective. That is their, quote unquote experience. That's what diss tracks are. Like that's somebody coming back and saying like, no, this is what I think of you from my perspective. But with film, things don't quite work the same way. But yeah, people can say whatever they want.
Well, but see, I don't know because like, is that slander? Is that libel? I know there's a difference between the two, and now I forgot what they are. But if,
It is it is if what you're saying is it presented as supposed to be this is true, this is a fact, this happened, when it's in a narrative piece of cinema or television, I believe that's protected by this is this is in the this it's still in the realm of fiction.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I feel like this is tricky because if you make a movie or a TV show and you say it's based on true events and we all know who the person is and we can research who they're talking about because the comedy writer, that guy who was drugging Richard Gere,
Mhm.
people tried to figure out who that was, and that person was being harassed. And he had to come out and say, like, I'm not, like, y'all think this is me, this is not me. So I wonder, like, should the filmmaker, should the distributor be responsible for the chaos that could ensue by making these claims? Because I guess my question is, what's the purpose of saying like based on true events and then not explaining what's true, what's not? Like I almost feel like there should, like legally, there should be a disclaimer at the end of the film, like in the credits, saying that this is what was true. Because you know how some films will say any similarities to real life characters is coincidental. These are all fictitious names and characters. These are movies do that for movies that say that they're not based on anything. But
Mm. I
and
mean, in my mind, I don't think that you're being preemptive when this doesn't happen all of the time. Most things don't receive this level of attention or scrutiny. And also, to me, I think it's almost a form of censorship. He didn't write this lady's real name. And how many biopics have you watched where how they collapse someone's life, like someone had five wives, and in the film, for the purpose of the running time, they collapse all their personalities or all these events into like one or two wives per se, just as a random example. That shit happens all the time. And I don't think that the artists or the distributors have a responsibility to have to be truthful to a T. It's about the essence of. So and from the creator's perspective. So to me, that's a form of censorship trying to do that. And you can't predict how the public's going to act. But to me, the onus should be placed back on how we allow uh, access to people. To me, it's a different problem than putting it on the onus of the creator or the distributor.
See, I don't know that I agree. I don't think it's like censorship. I think it's like we all know coffee's hot, but McDonald's still has to put caution, this is hot because someone might burn themselves. Like we can't trust the public. I think it's reckless to say,
Well, that's what the terminology based on means. Like when you adapt a novel, it's based on this novel, but that's not a clear, it's not a play-by-play of the novel. There are modifications made.
yeah,
That's
but
the
that's different because that's fictional. Like the novel's fictional, or if it's like your biopic, and yeah, like you said, sometimes you collapse things, and but there's no harm in that. Like I'm talking about when it's harmful. Like if I were married three times, but I only say two times for simplicity, or I only show one marriage, it's because of the runtime and because it's not relevant to the story I'm telling.
But harmful to whom? Like the person
Harmful
that
to the what if I say like, oh, my first boyfriend was physically abusive to me, and then I give these details that point a pretty clear picture to this one person in my life. And then, but like it goes viral, and now this person's under attack. And then I'm like, well, it really wasn't him. Well, but you gave enough details that it would point to this person. It, to me, that seems like, see, to me, that seems, you're saying it's slippery slope with censorship. I think it's a slippery slope, like, because it's all fun and games until it happens to you. Someone could easily, point a picture. What if some filmmaker has a big, like a super big hit, and then they go like, well, my first movie got panned in particular by one critic, and I lost a job because of it. Like I got fired as director for my next film because this one film critic wrote a really bad film review, and then they say like, oh, Mr. Clean, like he looks like Mr. Clean or something. And then people research, well, what was their first movie? What were the bad reviews? Oh, this guy with a bald head wrote it. And now all of a sudden you're getting flooded with hate mail, and it's like you're trying to say it wasn't you and they're saying it wasn't you, but it's like, but you, I mean, I don't know. It seems kind of reckless to tell a story that's specific enough that we could all point a finger at someone and then not include things that are actually true. It would be different if, like, this lady, the real life lady, never got arrested, never went to jail. There are things that she's saying are not true. I guess my question is, if you're saying something's based on true events, why can't we hold people accountable to say this is what's true? And this or this, like the claims we're making about this person's not true. Because it's not just his life that he's recounting. It would be different if he were embellishing things and, you know, whatever about his own life. But he's
well, but
like,
but but again, I think this conversation needs to be the mirror needs to be placed back upon the public and about in this kind of web sleuthing. Like it's the people that are taking it upon themselves to be, I guess, social justice warriors for a character that's semi-fictional in a television series. I mean, that's a whole different problem to me. The
I
and
agree with you, but I think that we can't trust the public. So then
we
it's like, don't we have a response? I mean, just like we have guardrails on high rises, and just like we have like stoplights, and I mean, we have to have things to stop people from just, flailing their bodies into the street, or getting online and attacking
sure, but
strangers.
the ones that really want to get beyond those guardrails and jump off bridges are still going to do it. So Does that mean we can't have bridges? Does that mean we can't have any kind of artistic freedom? I see. I think it's a very dangerous, slippery slope. I, I,
Why does
I,
artistic freedom have to include being able to say things about people that could be hurtful when you could very easily, like, no one's saying you can't tell the story. You just need to say that this, since you are pointing at a very specific person who exists in real life, and you're highlighting that. Because the baby reindeer, all they needed to do was that opening episode, just take out the one little section that says based on a true story. But the problem is, this person had an entire career based off telling this story. He had a one-man show. He used to do stand-up. He did have that mental breakdown on stage. So it's like people think it's real. And it's like the one-man show wasn't real. Like he just made up a story that's like loosely based off his life, but then used people who we could actually find. And I think that's why I'm a little like, if Netflix and he got sued, I wouldn't be mad. Because this seems like a pretty specific case of,
uh, t- I don't know. I think that they would win because it's because of the presentation of it. It's not a documentary. There's nowhere, just because it says based on a true story does not equal fact. And that is something that I think the general public at large that has an uproar about anything would need to take into consideration. I think people get off on doing that kind of, investigative work on their own and clearly have a bunch of time on their hands, certainly more time on their hands than I would have to do something like that. But I just, at the end of the day, there are bigger fish to fry. I don't know.
well,
I don't,
that can't be the reason because it's like, we can juggle a lot of things at the same time. I, all those horror movies that say they're based on a true story, all these religious movies that say, like the possession movies. It's like
um,
in those
dear,
cases, who's going to be mad? The devil, the demon? Like, I mean, no,
dear, dear David said it was based on a true story about that Twitter ghost feed thing. And it's like,
yeah,
uh,
but that boy and the thing, like those aren't real. Like they're
correct, but it's presenting it in a way that suggests that this paranormal activity was actually happening,
yeah,
which
but I'm
but
not arguing that we
the
should.
only part that was real of that story was that there was a viral Twitter uh, event.
You're right.
Everything everything else is padded out in a way that the filmmaker saw deemed fit to pad it out with it as a reenactment, and I think that uh, mm, we just all need to be adults.
I
I
don't think
don't,
that's a responsible thing to say because we already know that we can't trust people to behave accordingly. So I think that's why we have rules and guidelines and red flags because I do think that baby reindeer seems like a very specific case because even like Dear David, if this person wants to tell a lie and make themselves look stupid, and that's on them, right? Like this was a singular person who did this thing, and but I'm saying when you present something as based on reality and then you're including other people who have no say, no control, to me it seems kind of reckless. And it's a slippery slope because then you can start telling stories. I
mm,
mean, it's kind of how I feel about that Marilyn Monroe movie where it's like, I don't like I I almost feel like I mean, it
well,
just feels like irresponsible.
that's getting into a whole nother scenario of somebody that's in the public realm.
I'm saying that it feels irresponsible. That's all I'm saying. It feels irresponsible to take like someone who exists in reality and then just tell a fake ass story about them and paint them in a way that could be deemed negative or simply just not factual. And then someone like you would say, well, that's totally fine. But then I'm thinking, well, yeah, but what if that happened to you? What if someone decided to make a movie based off of you being awful, except that the character's name is, Ricky Shell and like I mean I don't know.
I don't
Rick
know, but
Shell
I
and
think we also have to be aware that there are things that we just cannot control. I don't know, this person, this comedian, this ersatz comedian, did not put this out saying this woman's name. That and it's based on true events from his perspective that he is the creator of, that he has the artistic freedom, I believe, to exaggerate as he pleases.
He wrote a story about some psycho bitch who assaulted him and pointed to a very specific person who visited the bar every day that he worked in. Anyone who, like, I'm sure there are hundreds of people who were like, oh, that lady at the, like, that's how her name got out. Like, it's, I don't know if she was the first to initiate, like, hey, it's me, everyone. I think that people realized it was her, and then that's why she decided to do the interview, but there's not even time for me to talk about the interview, but it is a train wreck and like why people, I don't even know why she did that. And Piers Morgan, who I can't stand, he is very good at, when you think someone's lying, the best way to catch them in a lie is to bring the shit up, let them deny it, and then you bring it back up later. You don't keep drilling them because they're going to just hold firm on their lie. But he's smart enough to know, oh, okay, you said you only met him 2 or 3 times. Okay, I'm going to ask you again in 30 minutes. And then in 30 minutes, she's like, well, maybe 5 or 6 times. I mean, just she contradicts herself so many times that I would have to write a list of.
Well, that's what lawyers do, you know.
And then she doesn't have anyone there to sort of like help her. And so I feel bad for this lady. Clearly, she's lying about a lot of things,
Well,
but
because from her perspective, it didn't play out. There are, again, exaggerations were probably made, enhancements were made, but she has her own perspective in this story. But she doesn't have the connections to make a Netflix series about her perspective.
I'm surprised. You seem, I mean, I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised that you're kind of cold about it, but I don't agree. I do think because a very
Well,
simple solution would be to say, don't say it's based on a true story then. If
well,
like maybe we should say like if this is not based in fact, don't allude to it being so. Like
I'm
why
I'm cold about it because I don't agree that the masses should have that kind of control over artistic freedom.
that's not what we're discussing here. What we're discussing
It's,
is
it's
should
an aspect of it.
the question I'm asking is should the filmmaker or the distributor be responsible for presenting a story that is not true, saying that is based in truth, and then painting a very specific person in a negative light, which is very different from all the other kinds of movies where it's like, I got pregnant by an alien. This is my story. I mean, well, who's going to sue? The alien? Like, I mean, you can say whatever you want about a thing that doesn't exist. Ghost, possession, the devil, Jesus and the possession, whatever. But I think when it's something more specific like this is a person who existed and people can access, and you're making these pretty bold claims about this character inspired by a person in the modern age with social media and how easy it is to find people, maybe we do need to adjust how we present things as reality because I don't know how it takes away from anyone's artistic um, autonomy to say you can't say this is based on anything if you're not going to give the truth. Or there are guidelines that you can say it's based on stuff if the subject is not someone who could be affected, like a natural event or a supernatural thing or aliens or, you
Or
know,
Marilyn or Marilyn Monroe.
or fictitious things. But if it's like a real life person who exists or existed and you cannot
Well,
prove that.
the film that I just watched this evening, The Apprentice, about Donald Trump's relationship with Roy Cohn in the 70s and 80s, has very clear statements based probably because of who the central character is, uh, that are saying that are being very clear that this is fiction and liberties are being taken.
Well, interesting topic to talk about.
But I
We
mean, that kind of thing would ha need to happen across the board. But I think what people that consume anything, reality television included, which if we better nail that shit down real quick too, and have statements about how fake all that is as well, because it all the shit is not real, and you need to be taking the news, the media, the news and media stories you consume with that same grain of salt that it is not objective. Nothing is objective anymore. Nothing is that there is. I don't mean to go down a road of like George Orwellian doublespeak, but you need to be weighing everything with the fact that you probably need to get other sources that you need to cite, but people don't ever want to do that. People want to
Well,
have
I think
facts
I
into it.
yeah, I think you're making this bigger than what I was saying. I'm saying in specific case like usages, like when you're saying something's based in reality, but it's about someone who's not a, like, reality TV is obviously fake, but well, it's scripted reality
It's
produced.
obviously fake, but people don't treat it that way, do they?
But that's different because these people are electing to present themselves in this way. So for them to then later say like, well, it was edited weird. Well, that's your fault, stupid, because you signed up to be on this show for $1,200 an episode to then be painted as a villain and now you can't get work. To me, that's not the same case. I'm just saying like, I
But
do
it's
think
similar
that it was
because
irresponsible.
they can't get work because of the public perception about a version of themselves that they're
Yeah,
playing.
but they presented that version. So to me, that's not the producers of the show. They're not responsible for people. People, if you're making a reality show on like a major platform and you put out a casting call, people can't fucking get to the casting call fast enough to volunteer to be made a fool of. So I'm not talking about those people. I'm really saying that I think this is very interesting. This show in particular, this seems to be like something new for us, where it's like in the modern age, here's this person who's saying that this thing happened to them in the modern age, and we can all find this person, and it goes viral. That's kind of, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's interesting, and I'm surprised that the filmmaker or the distributor Netflix didn't maybe try harder to isolate this person, like keep them protected from it, like be clear that you know this is not like the true story of this lady. It's just who y'all are
Well,
going to find out who it is.
again, nobody's thinking about something that's really hitting at that kind of level because Netflix puts out a lot of things that are based on true stories. And there's not this level of public scrutiny surrounding it. It doesn't catch the public eye. So again, I don't know. I don't know if it's even big enough to make those kind of changes for Netflix or other distributors. But I
I think if
mean,
they got I think if they were successfully sued, maybe people would think twice about how they present.
I don't think that they will be successfully sued.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that I don't understand why it's so hard to just not say it's based on a true story.
And you have to remember that even if they were to get sued and have to pay out a sum of money, and this goes for the woman who feels assailed, all publicity is good publicity.
Well, not for her, because she's not selling anything.
But she gets to be on Piers Morgan. I
She's being
mean,
harassed. She's being harassed.
all that shit'll die away. People, I
I
mean,
I watched something on YouTube not too long ago, and it was about people who share similar names to people who were in like notorious figures in pop culture, like who went viral for a week. And like people who had similar names were greatly affected. Like
mhm.
they had to like shut down all their social media and like get new phone numbers because their name is similar to some person who was convicted of, you know, some awful crime or something. That's how wild the public is now that people have more access. So all I'm saying is I just think that it's a new day, a new dawn, and this doesn't feel good. But I'm moving
Okay,
on to something,
okay, Nina.
but I'm going to move on to something else that is a little better. Uh,
Oh,
the Janet Jackson Lifetime series, that docu-series,
yeah, that heavily sanitized docuseries. Uh-huh.
the director of that docu-series reached out to us to say that they're looking for reaction videos to include in series 2 of the docu-series, and if we would be willing to sign a release form to do so. So that's good news because I guess we're getting series 2 of like we're getting 4 more episodes maybe of the Janet Jackson docu-series. Um, I don't know what I rewatched our reaction video to see what we said. It's mostly positive about her and like I don't know what I mean we did say it was kind of weak, but not surprisingly so because she's sort of a master at presenting an image and not giving too much of herself. And she certainly didn't give much of herself in the docuseries. Um, but as I rewatched it, I thought, maybe some I could see someone using the part where we said that she doesn't owe us anything because she's given us all the hits and the tours and the movies and a damn book. Like, what more does she need to give? So, I think who knows? Who knows in what capacity they would use any of it if they even do. But I was mainly excited that um we're gonna get more of her.
I don't know what more. Well, let's. I hope we get some nitty gritty then, because Jesus, what more is there to tell since the last thing, Phil? Like she hasn't done much. She's
Well, I watched the YouTube channel Struggle Reviews. We did a video with Tyra about the Gerard Carmichael reality show, but she made a reaction video of all 4 episodes, and we had similar opinions, but she also echoed what I said, or she echoed what I said about, I didn't need to get into the nitty gritty of Janet's life and her personal, I don't need to know if she really had a kid or an abortion or whatever. I would have been happy with learning about like, what does your house look like? Like, what do you do on a regular day? Who cooks your food? What kind of car do you drive? Like little fun stuff we didn't even get. So I would, even if, maybe it's like behind the scenes of her most recent tour, like what is touring like for a Janet Jackson, right? Like how does someone like her even get around from city to city? You know, um, it could be stuff like that. I don't need to know, like, I want to see you crying from an awful shot about your brother, like from an awful
of
angle
course,
with
yes.
snot running down your nose about your dead brother. I don't need to witness that. But
But I guess yes. What is the angle then? What is the justification for having? Because to honestly, my memories of that series were it was fluff. I mean, it's not giving anybody that as in you are a major fan really knows about, except some photos and anecdotes about stuff, very safe stuff. So I guess I don't know, like
but
what the
maybe
she's
that
not somebody that needs to put out content that's, banal.
right. Well, maybe with because it was a very successful docu-series for Lifetime, maybe with the success of that, she might be willing to give us something more and different. But again, I don't need my girl to spill all her tea. I think as a lifelong fan, it would just be fun to see her outside of the image, like at
Well,
home. Like
well, and part of the, enigma of celebrities her age is that they're able to still retain an amount of mystery, which I would love for people to get back to that kind of tradition of we don't need to know everything, and people are
yeah.
usually more interesting if you keep some things close to your chest. But
you know.
but that's just my
Um,
opinion.
well, moving on, I've become obsessed with Funny Marco and his YouTube channel, Open Thoughts, but he recently was on Shaquille O'Neal's podcast. Um,
Mhm.
and I thought they were super cute together because I mean, who knew Shaquille was such a clown too? But I wanted to say something that I laughed about for like an entire day was Funny Marco asked Shaquille, like, did you, because Shaquille's pretending like he's a very successful business person, but part of his joke during the podcast is that he owns like everything. But Funny Marco's like, did you ever invest in something that was like a total flop? And Shaquille goes, yeah, some contract manufacturer approached me that they wanted to make a cologne out of my fragrance. So I had to work out for like hundreds of hours and they collected my sweat. And then
Oh,
the fragrance was based on my sweat. But then he said ultimately it didn't work out because it smelled like dog shit. But So that already is stupid, but the funniest part of it, and I'm sure this is not a true story, but he's the name of the perfume was going to be Eloquaz, which is Shaquille spelled backwards. And I laughed all day about that.
Oh no.
Eloquaz, Eloquaz perfume that smells like Shaquille's sweat.
Eloquaz. It sounds so eloquent.
Oh my
Eloquaz.
God. This is the kind of content we need. Just light, stupid, silly stuff because the rest of the world's a dumpster fire. Uh, Speaking of that, you know I can't stand Miami. Shout out to everyone in Miami. I hope you're happy there. But I was reading an article that the Miami Police Department, they just unveiled their new Rolls-Royce cruiser. So they have a Rolls-Royce police car. It's a Rolls-Royce Ghost, so it's not the big
Okay.
Phantom, but it's still a $250,000 car. So of course, immediately I see all these posts like people, of course, hate the idea of that, saying things like,
Well, that we'd have to pay for that with tax dollars.
well, people are saying like teachers have to buy their own pencils. US at the US Postal Service, we drive 40-year-old vehicles that have no air conditioning or airbags. Who needs health care? Florida, you have other things to worry about, like so many other things. But of course, I'm like, before I get riled up about it, let me try to research more. First of all, this Rolls-Royce was loaned to the police department by a local Rolls-Royce dealership. And the Rolls-Royce dealership sponsored the outfitting of the car. So like all the sirens being installed and all the things. The police department did not pay for that, Rolls-Royce did. But it's a marketing campaign to get new recruits because they're having a hard time getting officers to join the Miami Beach police force. So,
Well, they could start by paying them more. But what what are the optics of that?
well, that's
Whoever
what I wanted to talk about as someone who works in marketing, because a spokesperson for the Miami Beach Police Department said that they consider this an innovative and fun way to connect with the consumer market. I think this is a horrible way. Like, people are going to immediately interpret this as excessive, a waste, like all the little tweets I read. Like, this is not going to go over well. And they took all these promo shots of like uh the police bikes riding in front of this Rolls-Royce police cruiser. It's yeah, the optics are terrible. I
the optics
even
for
yeah.
the police as well as Rolls-Royce, like why do you want to be affiliated with law enforcement?
Well, it's this one dealership who did it, and I'm sure, these dealerships have some autonomy compared to the brand, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rolls-Royce had issue with this dealership doing this. It just seems so stupid.
Well, it's I mean, that's a luxury car. Like, why would you want to affiliate it with not only the police, like for lack of a better word, like the working class. Isn't that bullshit all elitism to
Well,
these
right. Like why well, yes. So it's a high-end luxury car that most of us will never be able not even to own, but sit in. And then when you think about police cruisers, it's a negative connotation, right? Like you think, oh, someone's been arrested and put into the back of a cruiser. So what was the idea of like joining the two? That this doesn't feel good. And the police chief was saying that that the car represents the best of the best. Like in the automotive industry, a Rolls-Royce is the best of the best. And so join the Miami Beach Police Department to be part of the best of the best. I mean,
that's that's a stretch. I mean,
what
unless
would
that's
probably be more appealing, like you said, is since we're the best, why don't you pay us the most of any police department in the
where
country?
the
How
right.
about that?
Or unless that's the paddy wagon they gotta roll up on Diddy with, I guess. But
Oh, well, there's a good call. See, that's the basis of comedy is a good callback. But anyway, moving on to the restaurant section. I went to a place called Charlie's Trio, which is an Italian restaurant with my mom and sister. And whatever, except that this is a lesson in not trying to reinvent the menu because my sister's really good at that. At like reinventing the menu. And so she wanted this Italian restaurant didn't have chicken piccata. So my sister's like, well, she likes to make up her own cocktails, which I think annoyed the server. He seemed flustered by it. But then she's like, you don't have chicken piccata? And he's like, well, we can make it. And she's like, okay, make it.
We can make it peasant.
Man, first of all, I have to say, I don't like pasta sauce, like red pasta sauce that is sweet. Like people put sugar in their spaghetti sauce. I do not like that. And I think this restaurant does that. And then I realized why I don't like it because it reminds me of Chef Boyardee.
Well, it's preservative, yeah.
And it just, there's something about sweet red sauce that's so gross to me. So their red sauce was sweet. But we ordered a few things. The eggplant parmesan I did really like, except that the pasta that came with it was doused in that sweet red sauce. But chow, when they brought out that chicken piccata, the way I'm used to chicken piccata is usually some sort of thinner noodle,
hmm
like an angel hair type
and
pasta.
and chicken that's just beaten the hell out of, yeah.
And a chicken that's been beaten the hell out of, covered in that like creamy lime lemony sauce, and then of course capers everywhere.
Mhm.
But they gave us like it just looked like a piece of chicken breast they had in the back. There was some kind, it almost looked like maybe they took Alfredo sauce and then just dumped a bunch of lemon in it. There
Mhm.
were capers, but then what do they put on the plate? That spaghetti pasta with the red sauce on it. When have you
Try.
ever had? Yes, I was like, this is not it.
Take the garbage away. I don't need it. I
My
to me,
sister, she said she liked it, which I was very surprised. But
the the best chicken piccata I've had in like a basic kind of restaurant is Cheesecake Factory. The worst chicken piccata I've ever had was at a Ruby Tuesdays.
oh, was I
Like
there?
you were there. That was so
Oh,
bad. I don't think I ever ate there. Not that I loved, I mean, I love the song, but I that is it was like with some chewy ass penne. No. Mm-mm.
I've never enjoyed a meal at Ruby Tuesday.
Uh,
Because there's one in Long Beach that I've been to several times. Like whenever we would go for like a convention at that convention center, there's one off the water. And the only good thing about it is they have those iPads at the table that you can. Oh, speaking of that, just a reminder to myself about
uh-huh.
what a ripoff Yard House happy hour is. Because
Sure.
and we know this because we uh the last time we were at Yard House for happy hour was for a movie in Burbank. And then last week I was in Burbank for a movie. And I got there early. So I'm like, well, let me go to Yard House, I guess, and I'll have a few drinks. And I forgot what a rip off their happy hour is because their wine is so expensive. I ordered, and they don't show the prices on the thing. That's the other problem. Because I ordered a glass of wine, and their happy hours, you get like $2 or $3 off every glass of wine.
Which ain't shit, really.
No. Well, not for these prices because and I should have, my memory's so bad and I was so angry when I left that I that's probably what made me sick and that's why I left the movie. I was like upset because this happened to us before where the wine, it was 23.99 for the glass of wine. This old shit ass Pinot Noir at Yard House, like so little old $3 off. Oh, I was so mad. So I just wanted to say it out loud so I don't like the next time my stupid ass wants to go to Yard House for happy hour, someone can stop me. What have you been eating in can?
I usually get about one meal a day. There's a pizza place I like called La Piazza, and I usually eat half of it and save the rest for later. But today I kept walking by this place that's like a Turkish pizza place, and
Oh,
I got a kebab pizza, and I still have half of it. It was really good. I liked
oh,
it. But there's this little sandwich place that I liked that I like. They have this club sandwich, Le Real Club, called Citronelle, which I've been going to for years, which makes me happy. I like it, but not a lot of time to sit down and eat so far.
moving on. some people send questions and I'm like, oh, they just want me to be shady. But I got this question twice, and I don't
Uh-huh.
know, maybe like from a video, whatever. Give us your thoughts on trainers at the gym who are out of shape. And I don't know. First
That,
of all, I'm not
that's
in
like,
shape, so
oh, please. That's like
but
gym teachers that are out of shape too. Like, why is this your job?
okay, this is my thought. Because there are a lot of professions where the person doesn't exemplify like their skill set. So like
Like
uh,
the presidents we've had.
no, I mean like, you see on TikTok like they're ugly cosmetic surgeons. Like they are not handsome men. Or I used to work at a hospital like that was top rated for their cardiology center. Like
Hmm.
this was like in that US News World Report magazine, like 50 best, whatever. It was always like top for cardiology. And the chief cardiologist at this hospital, also, I think you're familiar with this hospital because it was in Minnesota. But this hospital also has a 24-hour McDonald's inside of the hospital. And this is the place I worked. The chief cardiologist weighed 500 pounds and he had difficulty walking. I would catch his ass at the McDonald's often, but clearly, like he was very good at his job. Like he's a very like good at medicine, good at cardiology. Um, but then at the gym I go to, there's a spin instructor who every time I see him, I always recognize him because he does not look like he would be active at all. And then every
Hmm.
time I see him, I'm like, oh my God, that's the guy who teaches the spin class. But every spin class he does is always full and he is hype as hell. Like you can hear him from outside the enclosure, like, go, go, come on. Very good at his job. So that's all I'm gonna say is sometimes people surprise you. Dentists have bad teeth, but that doesn't mean they can't fill your cavity properly. Like,
Or that's the small town I'm from. I'd always see the dental hygienist smoking in the alley before my appointment.
yeah,
I'd be like, okay. But yeah, I'm fucking perplexed every time I walk into a Sephora.
well,
I mean, this makeup on these girls' faces, I don't know what this is supposed to exemplify. It's you. A lot of them would be more at home at the circus. Like I don't know. Like that is the face that you beat to show
I
you are
I
selling products. Okay.
as a beauty professional, I've often been perplexed at, well, I mean, it's interesting because so like me, I don't, like I usually don't even have hair, right? Or it's really short. So then you would think, well, should we trust him to do our hair when he doesn't even have any? Or,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
there's a gender difference too with
sure, sure. But so I think you can go that route of like, some people look like they don't even work in beauty and then they're very talented. But then, yeah, like when you go to Sephora and these people are wearing all of the products, I think it's a combination of you have to wear makeup when you work there. Like I believe like you have to wear some product, but I don't know if how
but
they do that.
lotion, just some lotion would be fine.
Well, I don't understand, but well, I don't know if that's because what if like, I mean, depending on your gender identity or gender expression, I mean, like if I worked there, could they force me to wear product? I mean, I would, but it would be like primer and powder. Like I wouldn't look like I'm wearing makeup. So it's like, sure, I can wear clear brow gel but I think it's a combination of, I'm assuming the people who work there like beauty products, they have access to them, so they just overload. But yeah, I often wonder, can we not have it look nice and chic and like,
So you're
I
saying
don't,
it's like you're saying it's like the equivalent of working at a restaurant while the food's unhealthy and you gain weight because you have free access to it. So that's why their faces look like that at Sephora.
yeah. Or like clothing a lot of I've never worked at a clothing store in the mall, but I've known people who have, and my understanding is that they get a very small like allotment to buy because they're expected to wear the clothes while they're at work, but then they're not supplied with the clothes. So they only get a small allotment and so they can buy a couple things. When to me it's like, well, why wouldn't you want them wearing the newest, freshest shit every day? Even if they just like
To
because
me, that's a crime of capitalism. They should get. They
Yeah,
should
well,
be
I
able.
mean, these clothes don't cost you anything anyway. Like, why don't you give your staff and then every season make them turn it in I mean, I don't know. Like,
Turn it in.
well, I mean, well, I think you should just give them like a full wardrobe for every season so they can rep the clothes. It can't cost that much, like versus them looking crazy. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if someone wanted me to make fun of out of shape trainers, but I think people can be good at their jobs and not look it.
We can all slip up too. We can all have bad days, months, weeks, and years. So,
Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, there is an entry in the obituary section. Dabney Coleman died.
who I'm shocked you don't remember. He's been in a ton of things, but of course, 9 to 5.
He looks like Dr. Phil to me.
But he's better looking than Dr. Phil or
He is
was.
better looking than Dr. Phil.
And he probably didn't have that raggedy ass wife that Dr. Phil has either, but
Oh, they are.
Ah, anyway, I
Remember,
mean,
uh, remember on the Dr. Phil show, the wife would always be at the end of the episode and then he would walk to her and then they'd walk off together.
yeah, it was bizarre. And I
It
didn't
was
really,
very Stepford Wives to me.
yeah, she's
And
got it all the time.
Daniel Tosh has a new podcast that I like, and one of his guests was his stylist, who also was the stylist on the Dr. Phil show. And she was saying the budget for their clothes on that show was astronomical because they had all the money because it was a popular daytime talk.
Oprah. Well, didn't Oprah
She's
produce
responsible for him, for Rachel Ray, and Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz? Yeah.
But yeah, but she was saying that most of that budget went to the wife's clothes just for her to appear at the end of every episode and walk off with her frozen ass face. But anyway, um, I know one of our Patreon review selections will be Working Girl because of Dabney Coleman's death.
You mean 9 to 5?
Oh, 9 to 5, sorry. Working Girl stars Sigourney Weaver,
Uh-huh.
Melanie Griffith, and Harrison Ford.
Yes, and many others.
Work.
And Joan Cusack, who was also Oscar nominated in that.
What else
Um,
would you like to say about Dabney Coleman?
uh, oh God, Tootsie.
He's in Tootsie.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. He was always I associate him with comedy, and it'll be nice to rewatch 9 to 5. Although even the lot 9 to 5 feels, I think you will feel this again upon a rewatch. Sounds like it should be way more ahead of its time than it feels. Like that it does feel still very limited, even for what it's trying to do. But yeah, I love Jane and Dolly and Lily and he's their terrible boss that they tie up. But yeah, I mean he was old. I mean, how old was he? He's had to,
92.
yeah,
So he lived a long life.
he did a long, glorious life.
All right. Well, to getting to Cannes. So you've been there how many days now?
I've been here since I landed on the 13th.
So people were curious about whether or not you had seen Megalopolis. Yes, you have, and your review is posted on Ion Cinema. I read this review since you complained that I never read your reviews. And I felt bad. I feel bad for good old Coppola because you gave that movie a poor review.
I
But
did.
but I have to say, reading your review, it didn't sound like a good movie. So,
There is a certain faction of the press that I guess I would just have to classify as unbelievably contrarian because I don't know. I'm sure you'll see it eventually. And there is no way that you could see this movie and think that if anybody else in the world had directed this, that it would be able to have its premiere in the Cannes fucking competition. It looks cheap. It looks
oh,
terrible. Terrible green screen. It's pretentious. It's woefully out of touch. And there is some camp value. Aubrey Plaza supplies the kind of camp value that Gina Gershon does in Showgirls. And there are moments where I did laugh profusely, even, but it's it's not good. It's just not good. It,
dang.
I can't. It is just out of touch. I don't know. And sometimes. It's like a novelist that has toiled on 20 years for a novel. Maybe this just isn't it. Maybe you need to abandon that, like divorce yourself from it and start something fresh. Because however many decades he's worked on this and poured all his own money into, it is not good.
Wow.
It,
I was thinking after I read your review, I thought like I mean, he is like top tier filmmaker. I'm assuming a, no studio wanted to make this movie.
no.
So it's kind of like a red flag. Like you're a top tier, like one of the
Well,
most famous filmmakers, and no one wanted to make the movie you came up with.
not even Netflix. Netflix didn't want to give you money. But I mean, to be fair, it's been a while. Like his past several, I mean, the last one he did before this with Val Kilmer was called Twixt, which is fucking terrible.
Oh,
And that is a town, right, where you're only as good as your last picture. So it probably seemed like a terribly, horribly huge, big risk, but you would expect that even if because you can make concessions for special effects and green screen if the writing is good, if the story makes sense, if there's something in it that is like, oh yeah, I can see why you needed to tell this. None of that is evident. None
oh,
of it. So, uh, so yeah, like, and then granted, all the all these uh, studio bigwigs that have given reactions about how you can't there's no way to sell this movie, I think is the wrong kind of conversation because most of those assholes never know what they're talking about anyway. But again, I don't know who this would appeal to unless you're just such a fan of Coppola that you'll forgive anything. But he is one of the world's best filmmakers of all time. Like his streak in the 70s. I mean, I just made you watch Apocalypse Now. It ah, like such
apocalypse now. You said it like apocalypse now.
it's such fantastic movies that, redefined American cinema, at least in that era. But it's not good. I didn't like it.
Okay, what else would you like to talk about?
Well,
Oh, have you seen Isabelle?
I saw her new movie.
Oh, but she's there as the president, right?
She's there. I had to run out of that movie. That I saw her movie on a day that I saw six movies on Saturday, so I had no time. She was there. I didn't stay for the Q&A, but she walked right by
You
me.
didn't stay for her Q&A?
I had no time. I literally had to go half a mile to my next venue.
That next movie was more important than seeing Isabel live?
Yes, because I've seen her. I just saw her in London on stage, and I was offered a roundtable interview with her that I turned down.
Oh.
I don't do I don't do roundtables. I refuse.
Oh wow.
No,
We need to take a little break. Hold on. So how many movies does Isabel have at the festival?
just one.
Which was what?
Visiting Hours, which is also known as the title of The Prisoner of Bordeaux, which is in the director's fortnight. And it's reuniting her with Hafsia Hersey, who were just both in this terrible Andre Teshnet film that I saw in Berlin. Um, and it was okay. It warms up in the third act, but it felt a little lame. And
Oh,
it's weird for me watching her playing a character that's supposed to be nice.
oh,
Like that's kind of a challenge for her until she gets to kind of be bitchy at the end.
dang.
But so I didn't love it, but it's always a joy to see her.
Yes.
And she'd worked with that director before, back in 2000 in a film called The King's Daughters is the English title.
What's the worst thing you've seen so far?
In the competition, Cosmopolis, uh,
Cosmopolis?
the Coppola. Or sorry, fuck. I'm drinking wine and I'm exhausted. That's a Cronenberg film. Megalopolis is the worst the worst thing I've seen so far.
Oh, you sound like me. Um, and then what's your favorite thing so far?
Um, so last night I saw The Substance with starring Demi Moore, which is in the competition.
Oh,
Coraline Farguet is the director, sophomore film. I was kind of blown away with how much I fucking like that movie. My God.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I cannot wait for you to see that. My review is out for that too, but I loved it. And I also really liked, uh, to my surprise, the new Jacques Audiard film because I haven't liked him for a while, but he did this musical about this cartel leader in Mexico City who uh, becomes a woman and then decides that she needs to reunite with her children, but not really reveal her true identity to them as their
Ooh,
father. And
that
it's a
sounds
fucking
that sounds interesting.
with Zoe Saldana, who, actually I was very surprised at because I'm usually kind of don't have much of an opinion of her, but she has kind of a lovely singing voice.
We
And
can hear we can hear you trying to put that cork back in the bottle.
no, I'm trying to get this bottle of wine is cheap. I'm trying to get this it's disintegrating on me. I'm trying to get this out.
Oh, well, don't drink it if you get cork in the wine.
I'm drinking it no matter what. Anyway, Carla Sofia Gascon, I believe, is the lead star who is giving me serious Fanny Ardant vibes. Amazing. I cannot wait for you to see it. I think that you will love it. I also quite liked it's bleak as fuck and maybe a little on the slow side, but I liked this film from he's Swedish, Magnus Van Horn. It's called The Girl with a Needle, and it's set in post World War One Copenhagen. And it's about this woman played by Trina Deerholm, who I love, who professes to have this clandestine business where she takes unwanted babies and gives them to families like black market adoptions, only to find out that she just kills these damn babies and takes the money.
Wait,
It's
wait. So people are paying for babies she's not delivering?
no, people are paid like to give up their babies secretly,
Oh, people are paying to give up their babies.
like and
Oh, dang.
she's saying that she will, put them with she's got this network of connections, and she just straight up killed these babies.
Oh, that sounds really dark.
It's very dark and it's
Is
black.
it supposed to be a comedy?
No, it's it's
Oh,
it's drama, and it's as we just had a long conversation based on a true story. But yeah, I was quite taken with it. Um, I'm trying to think what else I really liked. I thought it was pretty decent was Unbecoming a Guinea Fowl from the director of I Am Not a Witch. I also really like this Romanian film, 3 Kilometers from the End of the World, which is also based on a true story, but liberties were taken. But the liberties that were taken is they fashion it around this young gay boy is assaulted in his isolated rural village in Romania, and because of it, causes this shitstorm. Um, with the local police who thinks it's okay that he was assaulted because he's gay, and then he's forced to undergo this exorcism. Social services are called. It's kind of it feels very new Romanian wave-ish, but I did quite like it. I like the new Jean film, Caught by the Tides. Oh my God, Guy Maddin's new film, which he directed with Galen and Evan Johnson with Kate Blanchett is also I thought was a lot of fun. Um, I've been disappointed in a couple things. I right before we started filming this, I just walked out of the new David Cronenberg film, which I still have yet to write my review of because I just finished it, but I didn't like it. I also really didn't like Limonov by Kirill Serebrennikov. It felt like it could have been directed by an American. And it doesn't help that I just read the book by Emmanuel Carrere, which I thought was fantastic, actually. I was disappointed in the new Andrea Arnold's, which I thought that was kind of exploitative a little. Oh, and the new Schrader I didn't love, but strangely is still better than the book because I didn't like it. And a lot of people are loving the new Yorgos Lanthimos, and I did not. I felt very cold towards it. I thought it was very long. I thought it was very dull. I thought it was very self-indulgent in a boring way.
Oh, well, didn't I say that trailer didn't get me?
I
And you were the one who were like, doesn't it look so exciting? Aren't you so excited to see it? I'm like, no, this
I'm coming off of Poor Things, which half the cast of that is recycled from Poor Things.
this is why
Yeah,
I think this is why I think my memory is a gift because I don't bring a lot of baggage into like new things I watch. Like I don't remember people's other shit. So I'm just like, okay, well, here we go.
well, I have the opposite problem, but
We
yeah,
need we
go ahead.
need to end this.
Well, yeah,
But
it's almost 2 a.m. where I am.
well, and I haven't I it's almost 5 o'clock and I haven't eaten since like 9. So I'm delirious, but
Uh-huh.
uh so I need to do that. But we'll probably have to be on Zoom again next Sunday, I think. Right?
Well, I'll be in transit next Sunday.
Oh, well, we'll see how it goes.
We'll talk. We'll plan it. Because we
Okay.
could also do it Saturday.
We get what?
We could also do it Saturday.
All right. Anyway, all right. Well, I guess good luck with that wine bottle because
I'm so sorry.
you've been fiddling with this wine bottle the entire time.
It is almost gone. It is coming out piecemeal.
This
Uh,
is a person who really wants alcohol because I would have gave up.
oh no. I never give up, never surrender. What's that from?
Galaxy Quest.
There you go. There you and
Well,
Roy Cohn.
oh, well, let's end on that. Anything else?
No.
Ta-ta.